Hello Kindy Koalas. Have you ever heard about Indigenous wayfinding? Well, let's break it down. Indigenous Australians are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who were the first people on the land long before your mum, dads, great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents were even born. Wayfinding is how Indigenous people find their way to get to a destination like their local base. So when you hear the words Indigenous wayfinding, you now know it's talking about how Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people found their way. Did you know that Indigenous people use the stars to find their way around and know how to get to a destination? This is called star navigation. Indigenous people look at the stars at night to know whereabouts they are and what way to go to get to where they want. The stars in the sky are in the same points as north, east, south and west, which are directions we use to know which way to go. Indigenous people look at the stars to know if they are lost, to look back at the stars to guide their way. Phoenix needs to get back to his base. What star will lead Phoenix back to the base? Amazing! Phoenix needs to follow the top star, which points to the north. What if Phoenix needs to get to the waterhole? What star will he need to follow? Well done! Phoenix will need to follow the star on the right, which points to the east. This means that the base is north and the waterhole is east of where Phoenix is. Did you know that Indigenous people can observe the way animals behave as a way to direct them and know where to go? Isn't that crazy? Indigenous people have lots of knowledge about animals and the way they behave. This helps them guide their way. They can also find water sources like rivers, waterholes, puddles or lakes by following and interpreting animal tracks. If you get lost and are unsure where to go, you possibly look for something you have seen before, like a house, tree, park, symbol, or sign to know where you are. If you get lost at the shops and need to get to McDonald's, which direction are you going to go? That's right. But how do you know this? Because you know what the McDonald's symbol looks like to direct you there. This is just like what Indigenous people do, except they use natural landmarks to know where to go as they lived and still live in the bush. Indigenous people may use trees, rocks, the ocean, a fence, or anything that is easy to recognize as a landmark to understand where they are. They may also make a trail using small stones, rocks, or footprints in the dirt to follow the path back to their base. We need to help Phoenix get to the waterhole to collect water for his family. What landmark could you use as a way to remember which way to go to get to the waterhole? Well done! I think the tree is the best landmark to use too. Now that we know the landmark, Phoenix needs to know what direction to turn when he gets to the tree. If we look at the stars in the sky, point to which star Phoenix needs to follow to lead him to the waterhole. That's right, the star points to the east, so the waterhole is east of.
Good morning, Kindy Koalas. Today we are going to be reading a book called Bush Tracks, which is by Ross Moriarty. What do we think that we can see on the cover of this book? We can see a snake, possibly, and some water, maybe some trees and flowers. Follow the bush tracks over rocks and stones to the coastal hunting grounds. Watch your step, it's steep. What do you think that we see on this page? What do we see in the pictures on the page? Yeah, we see a little kangaroo. And where do you think the kangaroo is going? Yeah, it's going towards the water from the hunting grounds. And what do we think these lines and circles are? Yeah, the lines are showing the pathway, and the rocks and the stones are the circles, aren't they? Yeah. Cut down the spear tree, strip off the bark, and smooth the wood. Make bush string to tie on 3 prongs. Careful, they're sharp. What do we still see? Do we still see the pathway? And do we still see rocks and stones? Yeah, they're still on the pathway, aren't they? What else do we see? Yeah, we see some birds at the top of the page, and where are the birds? They're in the trees, yes. Stop beside the creek to wet the soap leaves and rub them together to wash with the foam. Grab your spear, there's a long walk ahead. Do we still see the pathway? Yeah. Do we think that the pathway is going to stay throughout the book? Maybe. What else do we see? We see some water and we see a lizard. Carry a fire stick to light the grass at the edge of country, so the smoke messages people who belong to that land. Watch the horizon. Are they signaling back? Do we see the signals in the picture? Maybe. Do we think that maybe the signal in the smoke is the grey little circles? Yeah. What else do we see? We see the path. The path still continuing. Yeah, still continuing. And what animal do we see on this page? An emu. Yeah, that's correct. Wade through the billabong and pull up at the lily roots to cook on the fire. Watch out! There's a fire snake. Where do we see the snake? Yeah, we see the big snake over here. What else do we see? We still see the path going around. And what do we think this blue part over here is? Is that the billabong? Yeah, that's the billabong that we had to walk through. Dig under the bushes to find cool, sweet water in the windswept dunes by the salty sea. Stop and drink. It's hot today. Where do we think the water is? The water, the blue parts again? Yeah. What about the pathway? Yeah, we've still got the pathway going. Are there still rocks? No, but I think there are still stones in these little circles over here. What else do we see? Yeah, there's a turtle on this page. Do we think the turtle was in the water? Walk through the mangroves and spear a river fish. Look behind the furthest bank. Is that a crocodile tail? What do we see? We see all the fish. Where's the crocodile tail? Yeah, that's over here. We see the crocodile table and maybe his little hand as well. Follow the stars on a pitch black night to navigate the sea in the dugout canoe between the shore and the island. Look up. Is that a shooting light? A meteor glowing? Can we see the shooting light in the sky? Yeah. Do we still see the path? Yeah, we still see the path going. Check the phase of the moon to fish the tides and hunt for crabs along the shore. Catch that crab! It's a full moon tonight. What do we see? We still see the path. What animals do we see? We see some crabs and we see some fish. Run for the cave high above the ground when the lightning strikes and the wild winds come. Shelter here from the flooding rain. You're at the end of the track and safe from the storm. Do we see that the path is now ended at the cave? Yeah, we've all been led to safety through that path. Do we see anything else? Yeah, we see the lightning strike and the birds.
Alright, kindy koalas, for this last section you will be creating and playing your own interactive game about wayfinding. We will be logging onto Scratch where you have to program a character to find the local waterhole. They have to go through 3 different paths, one that correctly leads to the waterhole and the other 2 that do not. The character must try all 3 paths and find the correct one. The correct one should be a path such as star navigation, animal observation, or landmarks. Now, as a little guide and demonstration, it will look something like this. So you have to go onto Scratch, pick a background. So as you can see here, I've picked a Australian landscape, which has a waterhole in the back and some kangaroos and lots of different terrains. And then with that, you should put that as your background. You have to then pick a sprite, and a sprite is your character. So you just go onto the sprites, pick a character. I'm going to just quickly change his size to make him a little bit smaller and pop him in. And then, as you can see on my background, there is also 3 paths. 2 of them are wrong and one of them is right, which you can tell. There's a path to a tree, which is a pizza. There's a path which is hats into a bush. And then there is a final path, which is a kangaroo print into the waterhole. So this is how they used to find where their local waterholes or food would be, is that they would follow the animals' footprints. Now, onto the programming, we then have to go over to our coding and we need to pick our codes. So I'm going to program my character or my sprite that when the green flag, which is in the corner, when the green flag is clicked, he's going to rotate 15 degrees. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to test it out. Yep, it works. Then I'm going to go back and do it again. When space bar is key is
I am
pressed,
going to make him move 40 steps, I think. Yeah, 40 steps. And then I will press the space bar and that works. So every time I press the space bar, he moves forward 40 steps. So now my character is coded to rotate and move 40 steps. So now I can take all 3 paths of my wayfinding. Now I can use my flag and my space bar to move my character along the paths and find the correct one. Alright, well done, kindy koalas.